Welcome to Backyard Bows. Hey, welcome to Backyard Bows. I'm Brandon, and we got another diamond archery bow up here, the Edge 320. So we did the Edge XT, which was new to last year. This one is actually a little bit older, but it's still in circulation. You can still get it for a great price at many different places online. And it was recommended by you guys several different times. So if there's ever anything that you guys want to see, either it be gear, accessories, bows, we don't discriminate. You guys make a request, we'll do our best to get our hands on it. The other reason why we wanted to do the Edge 320 is for anybody who's new to archery or buying their first bow, which is, this is one of the bows that people consider for their first bow. We'll give you a little bit of insight on buying your first bow, and also how you can save yourself a little bit of money and navigate through all of the different options. So its successor, the Altar, is almost the exact same bow. You got a little bit different specs, a little bit shorter brace height, a little bit shorter axle to axle length. I think they bumped up the feet per second maybe to 330, where this is 320. But virtually the exact same bow, almost the exact same riser, the same accessories. I think it has a new cam system. And again, the specs are a little bit different, but the price difference is incredible. So this you can get now online for maybe $450, $400 on sometimes when they have it on sale. And then the new Altar is maybe $650 for almost the exact same bow. So let's go over the specs and we'll go over the comparisons. This one has an axle to axle length of 32. It has a 7¼ inch brace height. It actually is a little bit lighter at 3.6 pounds. It says a 320 on the IBO. The fluctuation of draw weight goes from like 8 pounds out to 70. The draw length goes from 15 to 31. So when comparing it to the Altar, you do get 10 more feet per second on the IBO. You get not as wide of range as draw length, but the same draw weight. And again, you're getting the same package for almost $250. So are you paying $250 for 10 feet per second? If that is the case by the end of this review, I would say get online and find yourself a bow that's a couple years old, especially if you're beginning, younger, wanting to grow with it a little bit, or if you're not 100% willing to make that really large investment, but you want a nice, well-priced bow that can get you shooting right away to see if it's something that you're interested in. I think these bows from Diamond are great, but I don't think you have to purchase the one from that year. So the other thing, that this one does weigh a ½ pound lighter as well. So if you go up the riser, same riser, like I just mentioned, same stabilizer, you get a whisker biscuit and you get a sight. The one thing on these sights that come with these ready to hunt, ready to shoot packages, you want a sight where those screws that allow you to adjust your sight vertically and laterally, you want those screws going into some kind of metal. These are going into plastic. So again, if you loosen and retighten these multiple times, most likely those are going to strip eventually, and you're going to have to be buying yourself a new sight anyway. If this what gets you in the backyard, shooting those first reps and getting some practice shots in, that's great. Maybe that sight is the first thing to consider replacing going into a hunt, whenever those do eventually wear out. But again, I'm not against ready to hunt packages, especially if you're really trying to test and see if it's something that you're interested in wanting to do. Some of this I probably wouldn't take into the field, but again, you usually have time before you have to make that decision. Like I also just mentioned, they have a huge variety of draw lengths and draw weights. I love that they can cater to so many different hunters. I'm on the top end of this. So I'm at 30-inch draw, all the way maxed out at 70 pounds. This bow is not designed for me. I think this bow probably feels the best somewhere in the middle range of those draw lengths and draw weights. So I got this thing all the way topped out. So the way this bow feels in our single shot assessment to me is most likely going to feel drastically different to you, especially if you're in those in-between weights and draw lengths. Keep that into consideration as I'm giving my first impressions once we start shooting it. Something else I do love on this, with that draw weight, they have this chart on the front. It's not going to give you an exact number, but you can at least place that little indicator on the side on the same line. So if you are wanting to do some of this at home, or if you're a father trying to set this up for your son, but don't exactly have the experience, this will kind of help you adjust the top and bottom to the exact same positioning, and it will allow you to kind of increase as they get stronger, as they grow, and you can kind of see how far that they've come from those first reps. I kind of like that. That's cool. On the mod, it does have a plastic mod. The entire bow itself is as budget bow as you can get. Plastic limb pockets, the cable guard. This string stop down here is this really flimsy material. I would probably suggest gluing that on, because as I shot some of those first shots earlier, it was rotating to the side, and the last thing you want is that string to miss that string stop. So make sure it's in place and then maybe glue it in that place, because it's really flimsy. Plastic mods, they have a little bit thicker gauge towards the top of the mod, and then they have kind of a tall railing on it to make sure that cable doesn't slip off. But that's the only other thing that I really don't necessarily like to see. But you got 3 screws. They're really easy to switch from one draw link to another. There's numbers on the actual mod, which just make it really simple to line that up and switch it over, especially again, if you're wanting to do some of this at home yourself, or if you're new, it's really, really simple to work on and to tune and to adjust. Let's go ahead, let's sling a couple here inside. And then with these style of budget bows, I usually tend to really put some arrows through them. So we will shoot an absolute ton through this. I'm a little skeptical on anything on the less expensive side. I just want to make sure that that performance, grade that we're giving in the end is something that is consistent and is going to last. So we'll shoot this as much as we can and see if there's any difference between those first reps and the 200th rep. So let's go ahead. We'll do our single shot assessment, first impressions here inside, and then we'll step outside. So for being all the way at the end of that draw length and all the way maxed out, that really is not that bad of a draw cycle. It's a little stiff in the beginning, but it kind of smooths out. You really can't get a real linear pull with these cable plastic pieces sliding on that rod. Sometimes they kind of stick and they'll kind of jerk along the way. But that really wasn't that bad. I don't mind that draw cycle at all. You know, it kind of lets off at the end, but it's not too aggressive. You do got a lot of vibration in your hand. This thing wants to kick pretty hard. And we're gonna shoot it outside today just as it comes in the package. Sometimes we switch a couple things, we'll change the sight, we'll change the rest. Today, I'm gonna shoot it as if you were to get it and set it up and shoot it at home, and we'll give the whole outdoor freestyle shoot a fair chance with everything that comes with the bow. Again, I want to say it's probably on the louder side. We'll see once we get it next to that decibel reader. And then we'll run it through that chronograph and see what this 320 IBO pumps my 500 grain arrow. We actually added a 555 grain arrow, so we'll do 3 arrows, you know, going forward, a 440 grain, 500 grain, and a 555, which will give us a nice wide variety of different arrow weights, because each hunter has different preferences and uses different things. So it'll give you a little bit of variety there. One last one. For a solid limb bow, it kind of sets up nice. It does have this limb stop piece built into those plastic mods, and it does have a nice back wall to it. That kind of feels good once you're set up. But let's get outside. Let's get outside. It's a beautiful day. Let's sling a whole bunch of arrows. All right, so on to the freestyle shoot. We'll shoot at everything. I'm gonna shoot extra today. One piece of advice with these budget bows, with these budget accessories, tighten them down really, really good so they're not moving around for you. They always wanna seem to come loose a little bit easier than you know, some of the higher quality stuff, especially the sights. But we are gonna shoot this just as you would get it with the ready to hunt package, and we will just shoot. I'll shoot as much as I can with this today. So that bore is at 30. We'll jump up to these 2 bucks that are at 35. You know, so as somebody asked me with the Edge XT or one of the other budget bows, you know, you gave it a good review, but would you hunt with it? It's such a hard question because I have the ability and the privilege of kind of being able to hunt with some other bows. This bow, and this is premature, but this bow, I probably wouldn't take this in the field, and that's just me, personal preference. You know, if this is what you can afford, this is what gets you in the field. Like I've always said, go for it. I would just rep it out until you feel as comfortable as you can and are as consistent as you could possibly be. And that's like always my advice. Me personally, I don't know if I would feel as comfortable taking this into the field. But I guess that is going to, I'm gonna shoot one more in that second, but that's all I'm gonna guess. I guess the other side of that is if I had to, and this was my option, could I be successful with this? Yes, I know this would do the trick. And I know this would get the job done. I'm just a little bit more skeptical about bows with this so much plastic hardware. All right, we're gonna run this 3D ladder, get that cat out of there. 5-yard increments all the way up to 50, starting here at the turkey at 20. And we'll just shoot. Man, it's a little windy, but we will manage. We'll go coyote at 25. And when I said earlier, not that I wouldn't take this in the field because I don't think it would perform and I could harvest an animal with this, just I got other options. I'm spoiled. Not everybody does. And that's kind of why we don't discriminate. We like to review everything from the least expensive bows all the way up to the most expensive, and kind of give some clarification that it's more about you, the hunter, and how much you want to practice than the actual piece of equipment. Especially at 20, 30, 40 whitetail kind of hunting range. I don't think it's until you get out to those 50, 60, 70, 80 yard that your equipment is, factors in a lot more, so let's go buck at 30. We'll go that gray wolf. I only got 3 pins in this sight housing, so we'll probably just go out to 40 today. That wind's kind of picking up too. I don't know if I feel comfortable shooting out to 50 with this right now, so. After 40, it kind of starts moving. I have a feeling it'll start moving a lot on me. Shoot one more. Okay, that's a good one. So now we got 1 shot we'll put on Paddington, and then we'll go inside and we'll do the speed and sound test. 1 minute, then we'll put a shot on that little black bear. Yeah, that was tough. Factoring in the wind, it made it even tougher, but even this, I mean, it just, 30 was good, 35 was fine, and then at 40, that's when it wants to start to move. So you only have 3 pins in your sight, I think, for a reason. But again, practice, I'm sure you can get out to 50 just fine. Let's step inside. All right, so on to the speed test. Like I mentioned earlier, we're gonna do another arrow, which I marked with a B for that brass insert. So it's still a 300 spine full metal jacket with the brass insert. It's 555 grains. So let's go ahead and start out with the arrow that we'll use in the grading portion, which is a 300 spine full metal jacket. This thing is 500 grains. We got it at 70 pounds, 80% let off, 30-inch draw. That's 261. So again, if it stays in those 260s, it'll get the 6 out of a 10. If it wants to jump right below, we'll take that average. So now that it is jumping a little bit lower at 257, now we'll shoot 5 arrows and we'll take those, we'll do the best out of 5 and we'll take those top 3. That's 265. $261. So right there, we got a 6 out of a 10. So let's go ahead. We'll do our 440 grain arrow. Littler on the little bit lighter, 400 spine full metal jacket. We'll shoot these a couple times just for comparison. That's 280. And now let's bump it up to 555 grains, 300 spine full metal jacket with a brass insert. Give it a little bit more weight on that front end. That's 253. So we're gonna give it a 6 out of 10. It kind of stayed right in there in the mid 260s. All right, so let's get a decibel reading. We got the same specs as we do for the speed test. My assessment before we actually test it is that it's gonna be louder than any of the other bows that we've put in here. But that's why I like to do this, so we'll actually be able to see, and it's not just me guessing. So we got our graph reader here. We got the one on the wall. We'll do 3 shots. We'll take the average. I think that was 94.9. .4. So yeah, that's about 3.5 decibels louder than the next bow. So significantly in the world of especially whitetail, 94.2. So probably gonna hover right in there around 94.5. Give us a second, we'll sit down, we'll give it a grade. All right, the Edge 320 package ready to hunt. Like I mentioned earlier, you can buy this thing almost on any of the major Scheels, Sportsman's Warehouse, Amazon. You can still find this thing all over the place. So for the price, I think it's a good deal. It's my least favorite accessories on a ready to hunt package, especially after we do like the Basin with the Tactic Micro from CBE. I mean, you can just really get some great packages out there now. I think this would be on the least expensive, cheapest side of things. But let's get right into the grading. So 265 is where it kind of ranged. So 6 out of 10 for the speed, which we switched up this year, doing 10 feet per second increments for the grading. That's kind of one of the grading points that we switched. I would say for the durability, quality, I gave it a 5. This is the first bow we've seen with plastic mods, plastic limb pockets. I mean, it's definitely on the cheaper side, and that actually, for that factor alone, I feel like the price should even be a hair less than what it is. I mean, $450 for this, I think it should be more $350 in my opinion. And then you got Appeal, which I gave it a 7 on the lower end. I don't like to knock anything too hard, but I think that's, you know, one of the lowest ones that I've given. And then I also gave it a 6 for the technology, solely for the ability to be able to fluctuate so much. Obviously we see that in most of these budget bows, but I think it was borderline 6, 7. I went ahead and gave it the 7 just for that solely alone. Huge range of draw weight and draw length. And then you got the performance. I gave it a 6 out of 10 for performance. 30, 35 yards, fine. Once I stepped out to 40, it really moved around on me. I didn't even feel comfortable shooting it at 50. I think by the end of the day, I flung a couple up there, and they weren't that well-placed shots, and they didn't feel that comfortable. About to 40 is where I felt comfortable with it right off of the bat. You practice with anything, you can get, you know, more and more comfortable and step your way out, but that's about the range that I kind of felt comfortable with right off of the bat. So, you got a 31 out of 50, times that by 2, you got 62 out of 100. We did give it +3 for the price, so you're at a 65 out of 100. Again, if it's what gets you into the field, if you're in need of ordering a bow online, I don't think it's a bad option. I think it's a perfect bow for a youth person to begin with, and then to kind of, as they get comfortable, as they get older, make those adjustments, grow with it a little bit until you can purchase something else. Hopefully you found something in this review that was helpful to you. If you're interested in the Diamond Edge 320, hit one of the links below, go check them out. Make sure if you have the ability to get different bows in your hands and test a bunch before you make a purchase. Above all, make sure you get your reps in on the daily. We'll see you next week. Hey, thanks for watching. If you haven't already, hit that like button, leave us a comment. I love interaction. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We have so much more to come. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook for updates of anything else that we're gonna review. If there's something that you're interested in, hit those links below and check them out. And make sure, no matter what your setup is, what bow you're shooting, get your reps in on the daily. We'll see you next week.